The river had not changed, but Sable swore it sounded different. She was a dye maker in a quiet settlement along the mudflats. 34. The kind of woman who measured cloth the way others measured trust. Carefully, always leaving extra, always assuming shrinkage. She kept 3 jars of her finest indigo buried in separate spots because she once heard a flood took everything from a village upstream. She memorized debts owed and debts given, not from greed but from that quiet arithmetic anxious people run in their heads like prayer beads that never stop clicking. One evening, while rinsing fabric, she noticed a faint discoloration downstream. It wasn't alarming, it was worse. It was uncertain. That night, her mind did what it always did. It built, not walls, cages. What if the water ruins my dyes? What if I lose everything? The questions didn't roar, they hummed, the way fever works before you know you're sick. I am Kunal, and I know that hum, that background dread, not about what's happening but what could happen. Your mind rehearsing catastrophe like it's doing you a favor. Sable found Rohin, an old trader who claimed to know the river like his own blood. He shrugged. Probably clay runoff. Then he knelt, cupped the water, smelled it, and paused. His face shifted. Actually, he said quietly, I wouldn't use this for a few days, and left without explaining. Now she had something worse than fear. Half an answer. Sable walked upstream next morning and found an old nun sitting cross-legged on a stone, watching the current like it owed her nothing. She asked about the water. The nun looked at her, not the river, at her, and said something Sable did not want to hear. The water may or may not be spoiled, but you were already drowning before you got here. Have you ever refused to look at something not because it was dangerous but because not knowing felt safer than the truth? The nun raised a palm. Before you answer me, answer yourself. She pointed at the river. Walk upstream and look, or walk home and wonder forever. That is your only fork. Sable's jaw clenched because she understood the trap. If she looked and found poison, her livelihood dies today, and if she never looked, it dies slowly anyway, rotting under the weight of not knowing. She wanted a third door. The nun shook her head. And now one real question sits in front of you and you want someone else to answer it. Sable's eyes burned. She whispered. Sable walked upstream. Every step felt like swallowing glass. Around the bend she found it, a collapsed clay bank, where reddish soil had slid into the current. That was all. Sediment. Dirt. She knelt and touched the water and it ran clean between her fingers. She had lost 9 days of sales. Rohin's half-answer had fed the village whisper mill. 2 cloth merchants now bought dye from someone else. The damage was real and it was not the river's fault. She sat on the bank and for the first time in years did absolutely nothing. No calculating, no preparing, just breathing beside water that had never been poisoned. The nun appeared behind her. You found your Gorion, she said quietly, using a word Sable did not recognize. Every mind builds echoes. The Buddha called this papancha, the mind's habit of taking one small sound and multiplying it into a roaring crowd. Modern psychology names it catastrophizing. Both traditions agree, the monster is almost always smaller than its shadow. But Sable had to lose something to learn that. I am Kunal, and I think the bravest moment is never the looking, it is sitting with what you wasted while you refused to look. So here is what I carry from Sable's mudflat. Before sleep tonight, ask yourself one honest question. What am I avoiding, not because it is dangerous, but because uncertainty feels safer than the answer? And if you are willing, tell me below, what echo have you been feeding instead of facing? This story ends here, but the question does not. If this made you pause, even for a moment, you belong here. Subscribe to the Mind of Buddha. Share this with someone who is awake at night asking the same questions. And tell me in the comments, what did this story make you see about yourself? See you in the next one.